Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm in a completely different environment. And if you're listening, I'm in a different room. I'm currently in Perth. I am dog sitting for my sister and her partner. They're currently in Europe. So I'm taking turns with like my dad and one of their friends. But if anything goes wrong in this first recording in this brand new environment, I'm going to blame it on the environment. But hello, how are we all doing, angels? I feel like I am definitely behind when it comes to recording solo episodes. But I just have so many incredible, insane guest episodes that I want to get out to you. And I have got two more interviews for the first half of the year. And then probably when I'm back from my trip in July, I'm going to start bringing people on, like interviewing people then to take us to the end of the year. But I do apologize. I haven't been doing as many solo episodes as I would love, but I also am just obsessed with everyone that I have been interviewing. And I think it's so crucial to get these messages out. And I hope you've been enjoying them. They are longer episodes than my solo. And if you haven't listened to them, definitely prioritize them. There are so many different topics that we speak about, and it's just incredible. Anyway, how are we all? How are you doing? Today, I want to speak about self worth, how to shift your self worth, but in a bit of a different perspective that maybe you haven't thought of. And this has been inspired by my client conversations, actually, yeah, conversations that I had yesterday, in particular, one client who was in my Wool Mastery mastermind. So, Wool Mastery, if you are new to the concept, Woman Mastery method, this is the exact process that I go through with all of my clients, all of my high achieving, success driven women. And in fact, the mastermind is currently open, and I'm super excited about it because I feel that I have just made so many shifts with my concepts and my frameworks when it comes to the mastermind. And I'm just super excited to onboard new women. So, this is really for you if you are looking to scale your results across your wealth, your relationships, or your career and business. It is a 6 month mastermind where I give you the full support. You have hybrid support. So, that's mastermind group, plus you have the one on one support to be able to scale your results. It's really for the high achieving women. You're already getting results at this current point in time, and you're already seeing things change with your money or your relationships or your career or business or both, if you have both. But you're like, okay, I'm ready for that next edge. I'm ready for that next level. And I'm not quite sure, like, no matter what I'm doing, things remain the same. But I do know I can feel it in my soul. I can feel it in my bones that I am meant to achieve this great level of greatness. And this is exactly what the mastermind space is for. And I absolutely love it. I love the conversations that I have with all of the clients. And like I said, this podcast episode is actually inspired by a couple of one on one conversations I had with masterminders. And it's just such a high level desirable space. It's just so safe. It's expansive, and it really allows high achieving, success driven women to have their blind spots shown and to be like, okay, this is what I need support and guidance on. This is where I'm at. These are my questions. Let's move forward. So, if you are like, okay, I need that for the second half of the year, then go into the show notes. You can apply. If you do want to have a conversation, see if it's the right fit, slide into my DMs at Just Pinelli and we can have a chat. But the conversation was around identity, it was around self worth, it was around understanding identity. And the first thing that I want to share with you is that this is actually the identity concept is actually phase two of my woman mastery method. So you do learn this in the mastermind. It's a whole dashboard that is dedicated to these and conversations. And Mondays is my one on one time with my masterminders. And the whole day, one of my particular masterminders, we had this conversation the entire day about identity and identity shifting and what comes up. And like I said, when I said I really want to speak about how to shift your self worth. I think that a lot of people start to internally think, especially if you've been doing this work for a while, it's like, okay, what self love practices can I do? Or what can I start to do to make myself feel more confident? And I actually want you to start to look at it from a different perspective. So, an identity perspective instead. Now, your identity is your superpower. You know, when you sometimes have these conversations with people, and it's like, I mean, I've definitely had these conversations, but it's like, what would you like your superpower to be? And it's like invisibility, or I could fly, or I could read people's mind. I want you to think of your identity as powerful as those superpowers. Like it is absolutely your superpower. And it is phase two in my woman mastery method. However, I find that it is the phase that high achieving women stay in the longest or always come back to when they've done the other phases, right? And the way that I like to see identity, this is exactly how I explained it to my clients. So you get this in real time, like this, exactly what I said to my client. But I want you to see your identity and how this links to your self worth, as instead of thinking that you need to add more things. So let's just break down, right? The stigma. I'm going to go back and forth. My mind is like so wide. My cacao has kicked in. But a lot of the time we think, okay, well, I've gotten success this way. So maybe I just need to continue being this way, right? That's one thing, one mistake that I see. Another mistake that I see is you have to completely change who you are. Like you have to act completely like a different person. And I just want to preface by saying I'm not negating any of these, and I am going to explain all of these, but it's also something that I just want you to keep in mind. It's not the full picture. Sometimes when we see identity or self concept work on the internet, it's like, okay, dress differently and do your hair differently and your makeup differently and just like strut around differently. Yes, those can quite literally change you if there's repetition, but it is not, I repeat, it is not the full picture. So sometimes we think we need to change fully. No, other things that I've heard or mistakes that I see high achieving women make when it comes to identity shifting and embodiment is believing that it's too hard or it takes too much time or you have to add too many things. It's like, if I want to become this type of woman, if I want to achieve this amount of money, and in fact, as I'm speaking, I want you just to start to tap into like, what is my ideal identity? Like, who is that higher self that I keep envisioning, that I keep writing about in my future scripting journaling, that I speak about, that I visualize when I do my guided meditations? Who is that? And think about where the disconnect is. And a lot of women believe, and I know I have believed this, like I'm guilty of this, where I had to add more onto what I'm doing and who I am. And a part of the identity work that I teach my clients is the fact that it's not about adding anything, it's about taking away, right? And then we implement different things. So, an analogy that I also gave my client is, imagine if you have a car space, right? And you have two cars and you favor one car. If the car that you don't really like is in that car space and you want to park the car that you favor in that car space, you're not going to like drive over the top and like sit on the car, right? And damage it. You're just not going to do that. You're going to get out of the car you favor. You're going to get into the car you don't really like. You're going to move it somewhere else. And then you're going to drive the car that you favor into the car space. That's exactly how I want you to see identity shifting is we take out one thing, we eliminate one thing, we get to the subconscious root. Phase one of the woman mastery method is all about subconscious reprogramming. So we do that first. That's why it's phase one. We get to the root of that and we pull that out. And then, like the car, we park in the desirable things, the desirable behaviors, patterns, traits, ways of being, programming, ways of thinking, etc. And so what women actually see is like, I have one car space and I want all these cars, but I have to keep piling them on top. And then before you know it, you're overwhelmed, you're frustrated, you're exhausted because you're like, oh my God, this is too much. Like, I can't handle this. And then it all feels like it comes crashing down and it feels all too hard. We kind of put it in there too hard basket. And I know that I've definitely done that in the past. And so start to recognize in your own behavior where you think, okay, I need to make these changes or I need to do these things for a brand new identity or to act as if to step into my higher self. But like, it feels too overwhelming. It feels too frustrating. So that's the first analogy I want you to think about. Now, stemming off from that, how I want you to start, and this is exactly how I explain to all of my clients, I want you to start to think of undoing yourself. So, like, uncovering yourself is probably a better word, or undressing yourself to get to the root of who you truly are, your authentic self. One of the buzzwords in personal development over the past few years has been authenticity. Step into your authentic self. And even me, I've been doing this work for a long, long time, years and years and years. And even sometimes I read something and I'm like, but what does that even mean? What is stepping into your authentic self, right? And I just want you to keep in the back of your mind as I'm speaking to you, like this is all related to your self worth, and we're going to come full circle at the end. But I, well, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So we think that, okay, what is my authentic self? Well, we get super confused at what, like, how do I find my authentic self? And I think that it's, it's not about creating things or again adding more. It's never about this, and this is what I teach my clients. When we're looking to master ourselves as women, we're looking to shift our perspective on life. We're not looking to be more overwhelmed and add more onto our plate, right? We're already busy. We're ambitious and high achieving for a reason, but instead look at it as an undoing and uncovering. So the way that I see it is like translucent, like veils. And every time that I tap into something to do with my identity and myself as a woman, it's like I'm taking this veil off and then I explore what's underneath that veil. And then I keep going. But each time I uncover something, I am actually like undressing myself that I have over the years. I've dressed myself full. And again, you can use like blanket, towels, like whatever in your head visually you can see. But over the years of being, so I just recently turned 31 and like a week ago, and what I want you to like, how I would see it is like, if I haven't done this identity work or I keep avoiding it, then there's going to be like 100 veils on this, and so 100 veils on me. I hope that you're following this and this is easy, because my mind is going 100 miles per hour. And so it's like all of these years, these 31 years, I am trying to sift through, find out who my authentic self is, when really I just need to start taking off the veils and exploring what's under the veils and actually be honest. Is this me? Is this my belief system? Is this how I want to be perceived? Is this how I want to move forward? That's how we find our authenticity. We uncover ourselves, we undress ourselves, we undo ourselves, we get very, very vulnerable with the things that, and don't worry, I'm going to explain what this looks like. We get very, very honest with the things that are coming up and we don't avoid them. So, the mistake when women start to do identity work that I see time and time again, and this is a conversation I had with my client yesterday, is we can take off one veil and we start to see the things, right? We start to see parts of ourselves that seem very scary, that taps into a little bit of vulnerability, but also a little bit of shame, a little bit of judgment. And then we stare at it, we look at it, and we throw the veil back on. And then we feel exhausted because it's like we keep doing that over and over again with certain aspects of our life. Is there an aspect of your life right now, or maybe several, where it feels like no matter what you are doing, things remain the same? Like you feel like you're doing everything you possibly can to change your money story, or to change your business, or to elevate your career, or to attract different relationships, but things remain the same. I can guarantee it. Yes, it's a subconscious problem, an identity subconscious problem, but it's also an identity shifting problem as well. And so this is what I would call spiritually bypassing when it comes to doing this personal development in a work. Is women will take off the veil, they'll see something, they're like, oh, okay, I've uncovered that this is connected to XYZ, or I uncovered like this is how I actually feel in this situation. That's it. And that is what, and I've shared this on the podcast before, that is exactly what I call self awareness, not conscious awareness. So I share with my clients, with you guys, there are two types of awareness: self awareness and conscious awareness. So what it would look like is, and the self awareness can really be a problem because we can spiritually bypass, which means we're not actually working through anything. So, for example, if you are in a relationship and problems start to arise, you may go to your journal and you may be like, okay, I have resentment and anger towards my partner because he's not listening to me, and I get reactive. And I know that I learned that from my mom because she was very reactive, and I know I just need to do better. I need to be more patient. That's where most women stop. That's what most women explore. So if we go back to the veil analogy, it's like you've taken off the veil. You're seeing things, and then you wonder why in 3 months' time things are still the same. It's because you've kept that veil on. You've opened it, you looked at it, you've explored it, and you put it back on. That's self-awareness. Conscious awareness when it comes to identity shifting work is taking off the veil, doing that exact process, whether it's through journaling, meditating, other modalities. I have a framework called the Upside Down Why framework that really helps my clients actually shift identity in 3D physical reality. But the conscious awareness is, okay, I recognize this from my mom, or I picked it up from whoever. And this is exactly why I have held on to this resentment, or this is exactly what has made me create, or the choices I have made have caused me to react like this, and they show up like this. And then you go through a series of why, and then why again, and then why again, and then why again, until you can't possibly ask yourself any more whys. That is conscious awareness, and that is getting to the root. A lot of women will never master themselves because they don't go deeper. They don't keep asking themselves why. They understand something about them, like this is from my mom, or I picked this up in high school, or I know someone made fun of me when I was 21, so I don't want to show up online. But they don't keep going why. They don't get to the root, and they don't dissolve it, right? This is why I have a process of woman mastery. Also, apologies for the dog in the background. Let me pause and come back. Okay, I'm back. My sister's dog, every time someone's at the door, she barks, but I'm just like, let me just make sure everything's okay because she's going a little bit hectic. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but basically what I was saying is the self first conscious awareness. I know that I've thrown a lot of different concepts, a lot of different analogies at you today, but when it comes to identity work, the main thing that I want you to remember is taking off the veil and actually exploring these parts. You actually can't keep taking off bits of the veil and understanding yourself and like undoing everything, like whether you're 21 or whether you're 55 listening to this. I think the most beautiful thing about identity work is really taking off all of these veils and understanding, like holding a magnifying glass to yourself and understanding who you truly are. That is what authenticity is. It's not trying to add more things. It's not trying to, be someone you're not or act like someone you're not. It's actually this process of fully understanding who you are and why you are the way you are and how to use that to your advantage. That is mastering yourself as a woman, because when we fully learn who we are and what we do and why we respond in the way we do with our money, with our relationships, with our career and business, we get to fully see ourselves. We get to fully understand who we are, and we get to have a relationship with ourselves. And I think that this is one of the whole reasons I started this business, is so women can connect to themselves, women can have a relationship with themselves. That is the most important thing, and that's something that I will forever advocate for. And so how do we link this back to our self-worth? It's not that you haven't done enough. It's not that you need to do more things. It's got nothing to do with that. The self-worth that you were searching for, or feeling like you're not worthy of a certain result or a certain status or a certain amount of money or a certain relationship, it's got nothing to do with the worthiness part. It's got everything to do with how you are, what's the word I'm looking for? I can see it in my head, how you are building, how you are crafting out your identity and creating yourself and creating your being, creating your patterns of behavior. So don't think I need to add a million things, or I need to be and do a million things, or I need to act a certain way. No, just do the process that can take a while, of actually just getting to know yourself. When you get to know yourself, rather than trying to add more things to know yours that, and I've done that. I've been guilty of that where I'm like, let me add, this new way of being or this new attitude or this new way of dressing or this new habit to try figure. And again, I'm not negating any of these things. You can add things, but it's like, take away what isn't serving you and add those things, but more so focus on just understanding your current identity to get to the next identity, because you cannot operate in a brand new identity unless you dismantle everything about yourself that you currently know. That like, you need to completely shift. A lot of women think that they do these things and they go from the old identity to the new identity. It's not. There is always an in between identity, and that in fact is my whole upside down why identity framework I take my clients through. Is like, there is always an in between, and the in between is where most women get stuck for most of their life, because it kind of feels like you're making changes, but then it's like overall you're not progressing much. But next time you think it's a self-worth problem, next time you think, you're trying and then it's 3 months down the track and it's like, well, nothing's actually shifted. I want you to, instead of thinking, what can I change? What can I do? What can I add? Get to know yourself, the things that are coming up, the triggers in your relationships, the triggers with money, if you listen to podcasts or if you had an epiphany when you're watching some inspirational YouTube, write that down, explore it. And when you get to the point where you're like, I don't know how to explore this anymore, I don't know what to do, ask why. Why again? What's actually coming up? Allow yourself to sit with it. This is the proper work. This is what I take my clients through. This is what we do in the mastermind. This is what we do in my private mentorship, because these are the things that actually shift and change your being as a woman and allow you to come into your own, allow you to really understand what it means to have a relationship with yourself. That is the key part. Not trying to be someone who does a million and one things, but instead, how can I have a relationship with myself and feel really good about that and feel really authentic? Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I know that I have thrown so many different concepts. I have gone back and forth. I hope that this has created a little bit of awareness when it comes to self worth and how that ties into your identity. But like I said, just one more time, the theme I want to bring home, it's never about adding more or doing more or thinking that you have to be a completely different person. It's just about the unveiling yourself, getting to know those parts of yourself you don't want to know, because once you get to know those parts, you then get to shift them. It comes back to the car analogy. You can't shift a car that you don't know how to drive or you don't have the keys for. To get those keys, you like the keys of changing yourself and your identity, you need to explore it. It's why some people, again, get into the in between. You may get in the car and you may be like, you may have the keys, but it's like, oh, I don't know how to turn the key. I'm just like, for the example's sake, or I don't know how to reverse this one, or it's in a different setting, right? So you need to undo these parts, and they're the scariest parts. They are the parts that make us cringe. They are the parts that make us sad and angry, but the parts that make us happy and the parts that make us a little bit vulnerable. And I think it's beautiful though. I think it's such a beautiful process. And like I said, if you're resonating with this, you want to learn more, I highly recommend coming into the mastermind, because this is all of the work we do. The whole woman mastery method is exactly what I pride myself on. It's exactly, I see my clients thriving and I'm like, I am so damn proud of each and every one of you. All of the details are in the show notes below, or you can come over to my Instagram, DM me, have a conversation, see if it's the right fit for you. But I appreciate every single one of you. I promise more solo episodes, especially before I go away in a month's time. Oh my God, that's come so fast. I'm super excited. I'll talk more about that in the next couple of weeks, but I do want to do more solo episodes before I go away, because I don't think I'll be taking my microphone. So, yeah. Okay, appreciate every single one of you. And I would absolutely love it if you could hit the subscribe button, if you could hit the thumbs up here on YouTube, if you could leave a 5-star review if you're listening. And if you have any suggestions for episodes, let me know in the comments below or slide into my DMs. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.